What's up, YouTube? It's your boy BDE, and welcome back to the Week 12 Sleeper video where we don't play scared, we don't hedge, and we don't apologize for taking moonshot swings because scared money don't make no money. These are all ceiling, next to no floor plays, which is what allowed us to start guys last week like Sean Tucker, who was the RB2 with 34 fantasy points. It also allowed us to start Emmanuel Wilson, who was the wide receiver 1 in fantasy with 33.5 fantasy points just this past week. Both were highlighted in our video that we posted in week 11. And yes, there were misses, but when we hit, guys, we hit freaking huge. And let's be honest, you've come here because you want upside. And in week 12, the matchups, metrics, alignments, and game scripts all point to huge breakout potential. Today, we're covering positional matchups, implied point totals, and game scripts, alignment based off of defensive weaknesses, red zone opportunities, which helped me identify the week 12 sleepers that can literally swing your matchups. We will also be wrapping up this entire video with our week 12 positional rankings and PPR format, so stay tuned for that. If you love this kind of data driven madness, smash that like button, subscribe, and as always, guys, let's get freaking weird. So let's start with sleeper number 1 on the video, and he's the guy on the thumbnail. It's none other than Mr. Xavier Worthy against the Indianapolis Colts. We start with fireworks, Colts versus Chiefs, tied for the highest implied point total on the week at 50.5 total points. Points are going to fly early and often. Why Worthy? The analytics tell a complete story. Kansas City can't run the ball worth a damn. One of the most anemic rushing attacks in the NFL, forcing Mahomes to throw at a massive rate. Mahomes right now has the 8th most pass attempts with 361, the 6th most passing yards at 2,625, and the 10th highest first down pass rate at 36%. Translation, Kansas City is a passive volume on steroids offense. The Colts' weakness matches Worthy's exact alignments. Indy shows 140 wide receiver receiving yards per game, 10th most in the NFL. 67% of those yards go to the X wide receiver, which equals 18.7 PPR points to the X alone, which is the 8th most. Now look at Worthy, 39.2% of his snaps at the X on the season, most on the team, 55.7 X alignment over the last 3 games. That's a huge usage spike, okay? And Mahomes has missed him on a couple deep ball chunk plays that should have been house calls. At the end of the day, guys, you can't continue to outthrow the fastest guy in the NFL. Regression is coming. The connection is going to hit. And when it does, it won't be small. My prediction for Xavier Worthy this week is 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air, 1 on the ground. And yes, we're calling our shot. And for betting props, I love Xavier Worthy over 40.5 receiving yards. And I also love his 20.5 longest reception. And the reason why we talk props is because we actually have receipts to back it up, right? This same research that we do on a weekly basis just hit a 6-leg parlay for 35X on Monday Night Football. Don't believe me? Here's the receipt. I turned $9.50 into $332.50 for me and the guys in the Guys FF community. Make sure you guys use promo code DISCO on Drafters Fantasy Sports to double your first deposit. 25 turns into 50, 50 turns into 100, 100 turns into 75 turns into 150, and 100 turns into 200. Your first bet is risk-free, and we'll be providing you guys with a slip at the very end. So make sure you guys tail the slip at the end of the video. And remember, guys, tail with caution. If you have gambling issues, seek help. All right, number 2 and number 3 are from the same team. We got Jerry Jeudy and Shadeur Sanders versus Las Vegas. This is a combo play, and here's why. Jerry Jeudy has quietly led the Browns in true target share at 20.3, which is elite target share usage. Very, very quality. The problem is 41 of those targets have been uncatchable on 73 receiving attempts, receiving options, opportunities. This means that 56% of those routes that Jeudy runs result in uncatchable passes. That's not a Jeudy problem. That is a quarterback problem. Enter Shadeur Sanders. And I'm going to need you to ignore the week 11 small sample size. He was thrown into the Wolves versus Baltimore game where the game conditions also led to Lamar Jackson putting up career low numbers. What matters is the larger sample size. In college football history, Shadeur Sanders is the most accurate passer in college football history. He completed over 74% of his passes just this past season, despite a Colorado offensive line that allowed pressure on 41% of his dropbacks. When a historically accurate quarterback needs a wide receiver starting for actual catchable footballs, means an uptick in usage. Now let's talk about the matchup. The Las Vegas Raiders in their last 4 games, the Raiders have allowed 38.27 fantasy points per game to wide receivers. That's the 8th most, with the vast majority going to the X receiver. And in the last 3 weeks, you look at week 11, just this past week, X receiver, Mr. George Pickens, 29.4 fantasy points, 9 receptions, 144 receiving yards, had a long reception for 37 yards that we had on our ticket, and that translated also into 1 receiving touchdown. Week 10, Broncos X alignment is where the wide receivers combo ate. 25.9 fantasy points. Troy Franklin scored 15 of those when he was lined up in the X position. It's fantastic. We saw Cortland Sutton produce when he was lined up at the X, and we even saw a 43-yard reception for Pat Bryant on his lone target there. So, and in week 9, Brian Thomas Jr., one of his better games was, which was 8.5 fantasy points, 55 yards came from when he was aligned at the X position with a 35-yard bomb. So, they're also allowing 17.11 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. This is a QB wide receiver stack that could blow up. Fantastic tertiary option for you guys in your DFS slates if that's your thing. We love Jerry Jeudy over his 16.5 longest reception, and we absolutely are smashing the over on his 33.5 receiving yards. Sleeper number 4. Emmanuel Wilson versus Minnesota. No Josh Jacobs equals opportunity skyrockets. Minnesota in their last 4 matchups, they've allowed 4 rushing touchdowns, 29 rush attempts per game against them, which is the 2nd most during that span, and 108 rushing yards allowed per game, which is top 10 upside. Wilson steps in as the clear lead back and should see 18 to 22 touches. Volume plus matchup plus scoring upside equals RB sleeper smash. Smash, smash, smash. Sleeper number 5 is Hunter Henry, and he's our tight end 3. We're just going to put that on the week. We have Hunter Henry as our tight end 3 because the Bengals versus tight ends is basically free cash. Most PPR points allowed to tight ends on the season with 21.94. 3rd most over the last 4 weeks with 21.17. It's simple. If your tight ends play the Bengals, you start them. And then Henry's in line right now for 6 to 9 targets, and I love that. With elite red zone usage and upside, we love Hunter Henry's prop for 3.5 receptions. One of my favorite props on the weeks. Sleeper number 6, Cade Otton versus the Los Angeles Rams. Rams defense, last 4 weeks against the tight ends, 21.70 fantasy points to the tight end position, 2nd most, and multiple TDs allowed recently. For Tampa Bay, Otton is 2nd in the team for true target share, which is 23.2 behind, 23.2% behind only Emeka Egbuka, averages 10.9 PPR points in the last 5 outings. The one thing he's missing is TDs, and the Rams have allowed a tight end touchdown in 2 of their last 3 games. This is week. This is the week his usage plus matchup finally pays off. Sorry, brain fart. Deep sleeper time. Okay, guys, we're going to go really, really deep, and we're going to go back to the well. It's Taysom Hill versus Atlanta, okay? It's all ceiling, 0 floor, but historically versus Atlanta, Taysom Hill cooks and he has his best outings. His last 6 matchups against Atlanta, historically dating back to 2021, 14.4 fantasy points, 11.9 fantasy points, 15.3 fantasy points, 10.2 fantasy points, 17 fantasy points, 10.1 fantasy points. It's a lot, okay? He's averaging well over 10 fantasy points per game. He's averaging double-digit numbers against the Atlanta Falcons. Anytime he gets 5+ rushes and 30% snap share, he gives you 10 fantasy points minimum against the Atlanta Falcons. And here's the key. His snap share is climbing since coming back from the injury. Week 9, we saw it bump up to 22% where he broke a huge rush against the Los Angeles Rams defense, who doesn't really allow rushing production in general. Week 10, bumped that up to 37%. He also took 100% of the team red zone rush attempts in week 10 with 3 of those. He converted 2 key first downs to seal the game, and he played 100% of the red zone snaps at quarterback, aside from the one where Tyler Shuck came in and he took the knee. Had that game, I'm telling you right now, had that game required a touchdown, the way they were moving the ball, the way they were converting the first downs and rushing at will with Taysom Hill to close out the game, he was definitively, without a shadow of a doubt, going to score a touchdown because he is a red zone monster, and Atlanta gives you a lot of red zone production. They've been bleeding red zone production for a month now. Week 8, Devon Achane, 2nd most rushing opportunities in the red zone, and he caught a touchdown. He had 6 rushing attempts there. Week 9, Terrell Jennings with 3 and a TD, Travion Henderson with 2, which would tally for 5 total between the backfield. That would have been the third most on the week for Week 9. Week 10, Jonathan Taylor with 8th, the by far and away the most rushing attempts in the red zone in Week 10 against Atlanta, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns. Week 11, Rico Dowdle had 8 rush attempts, the second most on the week. They always give up a lot of volume and opportunity in the red zone, and we're seeing the red zone opportunity uptick there against Atlanta. Now, we got it's the perfect storm, right? Once again, guys, all ceiling, no floor. We like Taysom Hill. You don't have to like him, but we like to shoot for the ceiling plays because that's what separates you in these DFS contests, and that's what separates you if you got guys like Tucker Kraft, Rhonda Gatson, Zach Ertz, those guys on by. You even can put him in the flex. I like him as a flex option. I think he's a fantastic flex option. You don't have to. I do. Honorable mention. We like Isaiah Likely versus the New York Jets. Elite athlete, elite yards after the catch upside. And with Andrews, he's outrunning full-time routes. The Jets are quietly exploitable by tight ends, despite the defense being somewhat decent elsewhere. I anticipate that Isaiah Likely could break out and should break out. But once again, guys, he's an honorable mention as a deep sleeper. These are your Week 12 sleepers, the high variance, big swing plays that win or lose weeks. Let's talk about our Week 12 positional rankings. And yeah, we're just going to share our screen here. I'm going to put me here. All right. So we're going to move this right here. Bada bing, bada boom. Cool. So quarterbacks. Let's start with our quarterback rankings. And you guys could access all of this on the Big Draft Energy Twitter page. So Drake May versus Cincy's number 1. Number 2, Patrick Mahomes versus Indy. Number 3, Lamar Jackson versus the Jets. Number 4, Josh Allen versus Houston tonight. Number 5, Jalen Hurts versus Dallas. Number 6, Jared Goff versus the New York Giants. Number 7, Matthew Stafford versus Tampa Bay. Number 8, Dak Prescott versus Philly. Brock Purdy, number 9 versus Carolina. Number 10, Caleb Williams versus Pittsburgh. Number 11, Daniel Jones versus KC. Number 12, Baker Mayfield versus the Rams. I like that game to be a shootout. I like it to go above on points, by the way. Jacoby Brissett, number 13 versus Jacksonville. A lot of people have him ranked higher. Jacksonville is kind of scary, especially with how they played this past week against Justin Herbert. Sam Darnold, number 14 versus Tennessee, bounce back option. And week, if Brian Thomas Jr. is back, we're going to bump Trevor Lawrence up against the Arizona Cardinals. He's at 15. 16, Jackson Dart versus Detroit, because I anticipate that they're going to limit his rushing production so he avoids any sort of concussions moving forward. Number 17, Jordan Love versus Minnesota. And number 18, Joe Burrow, if he's healthy, versus my New England Patriots. Tight ends, we got Trey McBride, number 1, 2, Kittle, 3, Hunter Henry, 4, Brock Bowers, 5, Dallas Goedert, 6, Travis Kelce, 7, Mark Andrews. We love Mark Andrews this week. Number 8, Tyler Warren versus KC. 9, Kyle Pitts. Number 10, Jake Ferguson. Number 11, Cade Otton. And number 12, Taysom Hill. We're standing on business, especially in our rankings, guys. 13, Theo Johnson. 14, Dalton Schultz. 15, AJ Barner. 16, Chigo Okonkwo. 17, Harold Fannin. 18, Colson Loveland. And then we're just going to go back here. And we're going to go to our wide receivers. Puka Nacua at 1, CeeDee Lamb. 2, 3, Jackson Smith and Jigba. 4, Amon-Ra St. Brown. 5, Emeka Egbuka. 6, Rashee Rice. 7, Nico Collins. 8, T. Higgins. 9, Justin Jefferson. 10, Devonta Smith. 11, Chris Olave. 12, Stephon Diggs. 13, Tedero McMillan versus San Francisco. 14, AJ Brown versus Dallas. 15, Wan'Dale Robinson. 16, Jameson Williams. 17, George Pickens. 18, Roma Dunze. 19, Michael Pittman. 20, Zay Flowers. 21, Michael Wilson. 22, Brian Thomas Jr. if he's healthy. 23, Juan Jennings. 24, DK Metcalf. And yes, guys, there's no Devontae Adams in our top 24. He just doesn't seem right. He doesn't seem healthy. Running backs. Right here. Here's our top 24. 1, Jahmyr Gibbs. 2, Christian McCaffrey. 3, Travion Henderson. 4, Jonathan Taylor. 5, Bijan Robinson. 6, Saquon Barkley. 7, Rico Dowdle. 8, Kenneth Walker. 9, James Cook. 10, Javonte Williams. 11, Derrick Henry. I'd like to bump him up a little bit more, but I think the game's going to be an absolute blowout. 12, Kyron Williams. 13, Chase Brown. 14, Travis Etienne. 15, Breece Hall. 16, Quinshon Judkins. 17, Woody Marks. 18, Ashton Jency. 19, DeAndre Swift. Jalen Warren at 20. 21, Aaron Jones. 22, David Montgomery. 23, Tyrone Tracy. 24, Emmanuel Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our top positional rankings. We're just going to slide this right back here, and then we're going to pull this up right here. And if you guys like this video, smash the freaking like. As I told you guys, here's our betting prop for this week. Our betting locks: Hunter Henry over 3.5 receptions, Jeudy over 33.5 receiving yards, Xavier Worthy over 40.5 receiving yards. I also love Patrick Mahomes passing yards over 274.5. I'm willing to ladder that up to 50.5. All right. Shout out to our sponsors, Drafters Fantasy. If you guys want to tail that bet, right here, sign up on Drafters Fantasy using promo code DISCO to double your first deposit, dollar for dollar, up to 100. Shout out to our sponsors, Better Vision. No better place to consolidate all of your betting, your fantasy football, your DFS, your best ball, all into one app. No need to have 69 apps open. It's all consolidated into one spot so you could sweat it out on Sundays. It's the best. And shout out to our sponsors, Bull Rush, because without them, none of this is possible. The best marriage of betting and fantasy football. We call it fantasy football. And then the guys FF. So like I alluded to earlier, guys, like everybody in the guys FF gets our betting locks. I may present a couple during the lives and during these recorded videos, but we have been hitting at a 75% rate on all of our individual props. It's been profitable, not just for myself, but for my business partner, Sleazebomb, and everybody in the guys FF community. We give you guys live fantasy football advice, dynasty trade advice, you name it. We got you. Betting advice, DFS advice. You guys have access to that. You guys ask us a question in the Discord. We answer it right then and there. Link is in the description as well. And you could catch us live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, where my guy Sleazeball and I are going to be answering all of your start-sit questions live on YouTube exclusively. So head over there, 7 p.m. Eastern time. The link is also going to be in the description. And here's the sick thumbnail. We got the Thursday Night Football showdown between the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans. We also got a couple juicy props that we're going to post there as well. And then you guys can catch us live Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time as well, where I'm joined by the most wonderful, beautiful Who Hames, Sleazeball, and potentially Shove as well, guys. That's it for this video. I'm done rambling. Time for the best outro in fantasy football. Like and subscribe the video. Peace.